UW Green Bay and Lakeshore College announcing their new Forward collaboration. This will allow teaching and nursing students to complete their four-year educations close to home, utilizing UWGB's Sheboygan campus. The goal is to keep those graduates working in those fields to fill shortages within the county. And we welcome in Dr. Paul Carlson. He is the Lakeshore College president, and a familiar face here, Dr. Michael Alexander, the chancellor from UWGB. So to either one of you, how long has this partnership been in the works?
Boy, we have been working in earnest on this partnership for about a year and a half, and it just came about initially very organically. Lakeshore College and UWGB have a great collaborative relationship. Mike and I meet often, our teams meet often, and about a year and a half ago we started talking about the workforce needs in Sheboygan County for nurses and educators, and how could we come together to address those needs.
Mike, we've talked many times on this program about some of these collaborations. Is this another example of higher education meeting students where they're at and what they need at that particular moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So we understand if you're living in Sheboygan right now and you want to have an affordable education and you want to go into a high demand field, it made perfect sense for us to work with Lakeshore in this regard. It's the simplest way a student could come through these programs. It's transparent on the front end. If you look at the website lakeshore.uwgb.com, it just shows all right there how this all works.
All right, so why is that transparency so important for perhaps recruiting, Paul? Let's start with that.
Well, it's important because we want students who enter into this Forward partnership to know exactly what they're getting on the front end, both in terms of a quality education, but also an affordable education. So folks who take advantage of this partnership, whether it be in our Bachelor of Science in Nursing or the education program, have the opportunity here to save significant dollars in terms of tuition and fees and get to forego the costs associated with dorm life.
Okay, you mentioned the research showing these areas of need in your region. What do those numbers show you?
Sure. So for both teachers and nurses, the growth in jobs for Sheboygan County is outpacing both Wisconsin, the Midwest, and the nation. So these are two areas where our community, Sheboygan County, has acute workforce shortages, and this is our way to partner with UWGB to help address those.
All right, so if this is intended to address these critical needs in the area, what's baked into this to make sure that these people who want to take advantage of this, and again, they're pursuing those second 2 years, if you will, oftentimes while working in these industries. So is there anything baked in to make sure that they stay in this area?
Yeah, in my opinion, because we've made it as easy as possible for them to stay.
Okay.
And I think typically the reason why people will drop out is because it doesn't fit a complicated life. And we're acknowledging on the front end that everyone who's in this program likely has some kind of complicated life, right? There's a reason why they need to stay in Sheboygan. They're already in the workforce. They have needs for their families. They have other reasons why this makes sense to them, and they're looking long term at what it means to get a degree like this. And we've just made it so that there's really no barriers for them to be able to go through.
What about the barrier, for lack of a better word? I'm just playing off your word here, but in terms of some folks can do this online. So what's the advantage, in your opinions, of having this available in-person classes using UW Green Bay in Sheboygan County?
Sure. So from our vantage point, it's a different structure.
Okay.
So people learn in all different ways. And for some people, a large majority of people, they learn best when they are in person with a instructor or professor face-to-face, and then they have access while they're in person to the whole suite of student support services that help them stay on track and graduate on time.
We've talked about enrollment many times and how you've been creative in outpacing the rest of the system. How does this fit into that narrative?
I think we could look at the world in two ways,
okay.
Right? We always look at the world in an aspirational way. And we simply say, if we limit ourselves to one way of thinking about how a student goes to college, we're missing how most people go to college.
Right.
And this is another example of that, where we have a great partner in Lakeshore. They offer an amazing education. We don't have the resources on our own to provide these particular four-year degrees in Sheboygan. So why not partner with another great institution and make it so that the student wins and the community wins?
Is that part of the organic nature of these discussions, Paul, where they came out of? Because, as I said, we've talked many times on this program about some of these creative projects that they've done to meet students where they're at. Is that the organic nature of your conversations from the beginning?
Yeah. On the Venn diagram of what
Okay, what's a Venn diagram?
Oh, sorry, the circles that overlap. Sorry. When you look at what Lakeshore College and UWGB care about, it's very similar. We care about increasing access to higher education. We care about meeting students where they are. We care about lifting communities up. So that is part of that organic.
Sure.
We have a shared ethos that makes a ton of sense for us to come together and really double down on what's best for higher education in Sheboygan County.
What's the timeline for both of you to determine if this idea, which seems to make sense across the board, is actually working?
I think we're going to see results right away. I think the initial reaction to this has been really, really positive, and I think this has.
Is that in terms of enrollment? You'll see that right away.
I do,
Okay.
and I think we already are seeing interest immediately, and I think there's lots of potential for this to expand. And I'll let Paul maybe talk about that, because I think it's a really, really exciting where this can go.
Yeah, I think we're going to know in 4 years if this was successful or not. I have every.
By looking at those numbers, perhaps?
Look at the numbers. Every indication is this is going to be a home run. Feedback from community members, employers, K-12 partners has been through the roof, and we just announced this on Monday.
What about students that are already in your program right now that can say, oh, okay, wait a minute, now I can get that 4-year degree too?
Yeah, absolutely. So we know that from our nursing students and our students in our education program, they're ultimately going to go on to get that 4-year degree, and this creates an opportunity for them to continue on that trajectory without having to transition to online learning.
Terrific. Gentlemen, thanks so much for this. Good luck with the program.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
us.